Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good afternoon. My name is Huda. So today I'm going to share with you the first chapter, which is the overview of the computer networks. So first of all, what is computer network? A computer network is a collection of computer devices that are connected in various ways in order to communicate and share resources. For example, in the lab or computer lab, there's a multiple computer and all of it is connected. It's connected either through wires or wireless, so it depends. And this what multiple computer devices is called computer network. And for these devices in the network, we call it node or host. And the speed of which data is moved, we can call it as data transfer rate. So, computer network have opened up an entire frontier in world of computing called the client-server models. For example, you surfing a Facebook, basically you are a client and the Facebook server is the server itself. For example, in the Facebook, you want to search your friend's name, you type your friend's name and click search. It means that you are requesting info from the Facebook server. And the Facebook server will respond by giving you the what we call a page for your Facebook page of your friends. That's how the computer network run in this world. So as you can see here on your right side, basically the data of the server that, for example, for Facebook server, it might be at the end or maybe at the different places, for example, in US or Europe. So it's far away, but however, the delay is really small. You cannot see it basically. And all of it is connected by mostly fiber optics. So for physical structure, to connect multiple segment of network means that a multiple computer maybe more than 10 or 20 computers, and to set up a network you need to have a hub, switch and router. So I will explain all of it in the next slide. So to connect a multiple computer in a network, you need to use hub, switch or router. So in this slide, I'm going to explain what is hub. A hub is a network device that repeats information received from a host to all other connected hosts. And it can be classified to three types. First is unicast. Unicast means a communication between one host to another host. For example, if you look at this picture, host A wants to send information to host C. So it is called unicast, one-to-one device. A broadcast is a communication from one host to all the hosts in the network. Means that the information that's sent from host A will be received by host B and also host C. So it is called broadcast. Even if there's another host D, E, F, G, so all of the hosts will receive the information from host A. Multicast is different. It's a communication from one host to few hosts only. It's a selected host will receive it. For example, host A want to send information to host C and D. So the information will only receive by those computers. Other computer will not receive it. However, hub is not currently used in this nowadays technology because it has two problems. First is a hub repeat information received from one host to all other hosts. For example, if host A want to send a unicast information to host B, however, host C also receive it. That's a problem. It's like still look like a broadcast. And another problem is the collision domain. For this, if you use hub, all of the computer will become a one single collision domain. Means that only one packet can be sent in one time. For example, host A send a packet, and suddenly at the same time host C also send a packet. It will the information will collide. The packet will collide. So they have to send back again. So that's the problem. So how we want to solve it? We use switch. So currently most of the network use switch rather than hub because it is more intelligent compared to hub. For instance, the switch do not flood every packet out of all ports. Means that if host A want to send a unicast information to host C, so host C only receive it, not host B. It's not similar like hub. And another thing is for the collision domain, the switch is separated by the port. So each port has their own collision domain. So for example, host A send information, and at the same time host C also send the information. The information will not collide. It will not destroy. So that's the advantage of the switch compared to hub. And the switch basically a simple switch that switch the data from one port to another port in the switch network. Router is a different function. It's much more powerful than switch. If you have a large network and if you send a broadcast, it will slow down the network. So that's why we use router to separate the bigger network to a smaller size separated network. So router do not allow broadcast to be transmitted across different network. It interconnect and hence effectively break out broadcast domain. And other function, essential function for router is packet switching, similar like switch, communication between network to communicate between different networks, larger networks, path selection. For example, you have multiple networks and you need to send packet from network A to network Z, so it will guide the packet or information through the network, and also packet filtering. So it can drop or forward the packet based on specific criteria or certain criteria that the source from the source to the destination. So this is the example how how the architecture of the network. So if you have for example, this our first lab A, laboratory A, and this is the laboratory 2, and this is laboratory 3. So all the computer in the lab in a laboratory is connected to a switch, and to connect between laboratories we use routers at the middle. And I hope you understand about the physical structure of the network. So we go to the internet. The internet is a network of a network. That is, the internet is an interconnected set of privately and publicly owned and managed network. For example, UTHM is a one big network, and it's also connected to other networks such as, for example, UTM or UNIMAP, other university, and other government sector and also private sector network. So all of it, we call it as an internet. So internet backbone is a set of high-speed network that can carry internet traffic. Usually the backbone is the media for the backbone. We are usually using fiber optic. And for ISP or internet service provider in Malaysia is the TM, telecommunication. So they provide Unify and also Streamix. So what's basically the difference between intranet and internet? Intranet is a private network that is connected within an enterprise. For example, UTHM is an intranet, is a private network. A big network but private. So it's an intranet. So it could be LAN or WAN. LAN is local area network and WAN is wide area network. However, internet is a public network of networks. So multiple of intranet inside the internet. So both are using TCP/IP that I will be discussing after this. So there are a few types of network. The common one is LAN, local area network, a network that connects a relatively small number of machines in a relatively close geographical area. For example, in our laboratory, computer lab. So that's a LAN, local area network. And usually it's connected, or the media, the cable is, we're using RJ45 twisted pair cable. So it's capable to transmit data up to 1 gigabit per second. So please watch this YouTube video to understand other type of networks such as WAN, MAN, and others. So you can scan the QR code and watch the YouTube video from the link. You also need to know the network topology. The basic one is ring topology, star topology, and bus topology. I hope that you can watch this YouTube video to understand more on the network topologies. You can scan the QR code or type the link, YouTube link below. The computer protocol is similar like how human interacts. So a protocol defines the format and the order of message sent and received among network entities and the action taken on message transmission and receipt. For example, like us human, first we give salam, assalamualaikum, and our friend will reply the salam, wa alaikum salam, and then we start the conversation. For example, what is the time? So your friend says, oh, it's 2 p.m. So the protocol in human conversation is implemented in the computer protocol. So in the computer protocol, here on the right side, so the client or the host will request connection to the server, and then the server will reply the connection to establish the connection first, and then the computer will ask what's the information that the client wants. And then once the server receives the request, the server will respond. It's similar like how human converse. So in computer protocol, there are two types of a model. First is OSI and second is TCP/IP. So in this slide, I'm going to discuss on OSI reference model. So OSI means Open System Interconnection. So in this OSI reference model, it has 7 layers. The 3 upper layers, 7, 6, and 5, define how applications interact with host interface with each other and the user. And the lower 4 layers, 4, 3, 2, 1, define how data is transmitted between hosts in a network. So this is the table for the 7 layer of OSI reference model. The upper layer is the application and the lower layer is the physical. And on this right side is the function of each layer. So the first, the upper layer, the 7 layer is application, which is provide a user interface. The presentation layer present data, handle encryption and decryption. Session layer maintain distance between data and separate application. It also provide dialog control between hosts. Transport layer provide end-to-end communication, provide a reliable or unreliable delivery and flow control. Network layer provide logical address, IP address, provide path determination using logical address. Data link provide media access and physical address. And the lastly is physical layer provide or convert digital data to it can be sent over the physical medium and move data between hosts. Other than OSI reference model, there are another protocol which is we call it TCP/IP reference model. TCP stands for Transmission Control Protocol and IP stands for Internet Protocol. In TCP/IP reference model, there are 5 layers compared to OSI. They have 7, but this one has 5, which is at the 5th layer is application, and then transport layer, network layer, link layer, and lastly the first layer is the physical layer. So I will explain all this layer in detail in the next slides. Before that, I'm going to explain what's the difference between OSI and TCP/IP reference model. So if you look at this picture, you can see that at the bottom layer, layer 1 to layer 4 is similar for both models, but at the higher upper layer, if you look at this, the application, presentation, and session layer is combined to become an application layer in TCP/IP model. So we go to the first upper layer, which is the 7th layer, the 5th layer, which is the application layer. So the application layer perform all function of the OSI model application, presentation, and session layer. So this include the interaction with the application, data translation, encoding, dialog control, and communication coordination between system. So application is not what you maybe you thought that application is Google Chrome or Internet Explorer. No, it's actually the type of what we call protocol. For example, FTP, file transfer protocol, or the website using the HTTP, hypertext transfer protocol, the mail using SMTP, simple mail transfer protocol. So that's the application that it mentioned in this layer. So if you're using Internet Explorer or Chrome, so basically you are using the web. So the protocol that you're using is the HTTP. If you open your emails, so basically you send an email to your friend, so you're basically using the SMTP protocol. For TCP/IP transport layer, this is the 4th layer, we can generally divide it into 2 protocols. First is TCP, Transmission Control Protocol, and the second is UDP, User Datagram Protocol Service. In TCP service, we can say this TCP is connection oriented, which is require a 3-way handshake between client and server, which we can call it as a setup first. And then it's a reliable transport between sender and receiving process. And after you send information, usually you'll get an acknowledgement. So that's why we call the TCP is reliable transport, and also has a flow control and congestion control. Difference between UDP is unreliable data transfer. Why we call unreliable? Because there's no connection setup, there's no reliability, there's no flow control, congestion control, timing, and what a bandwidth guarantee. The application that use UDP, for example, is streaming, YouTube streaming, voice, or what we call, for example, YouTube, or online games. They use UDP. And TCP most likely used by email or web browsing. So port number basically is used in the transport protocol to differentiate between application. For example, HTTP application use TCP protocol and with the port number of 80. So different application using different port number and depends on the transport protocol. So if you look at this, mostly they're using TCP rather than UDP. Below the transport layer is the network layer. This is the third layer of TCP/IP reference model. So in the network layer, it provides logical address, path determination, and forwarding. So in this layer, we have to assign IP address and also the path determination. This is an example of IP address. It has 32 bits. If you change it to decimal, you can get the number. So each device has its own IP address. We will learn more about IP address in the network layer chapter. And the first and the second layer is the data link and physical layer. So the data link is deal with data moving within a local network and it using physical address, or we call it MAC address. So MAC address is an address or identification for every device in the world, and it is unique. So it will not overlap with other addresses, device addresses. And the physical layer is more likely is the physical, for example, cable, the what we call IP card, network card, and so on. So that's all for today's lecture. Inshallah, next week we're going to look into the second chapter, which is the application layer. Okay, that's all. Assalamualaikum and good afternoon.